Alright y'all, guess what we're going to be doing today? We're going to be making this little cosmetic bag here. I'm going to show you how to make the pattern, how to put it together step by step. So the first thing we're going to need to do to start creating this little cosmetic bag is to create our pattern pieces. And I have a piece for the bottom part where the gusset or the squares will go, and I have the top band. And I have done these 9 inches across, both of them, and for the top band it is about 6 inches high, 6 inches wide, and then the bottom one is 4.5 inches wide or high, however you want to say that. And I'm going to do this a little bit different because I am going to put gussets in it, but you know, it's nice that I'm doing these projects on my videos all the time because I learned different techniques that make it a little easier for me and a little easier for my viewers to put the pattern together. So I'm not going to put any squares in this pattern piece right now. But what I'm going to do is do that in a later process. But anyway, and also with the lining, I'm not creating a pattern piece, and I'll show you why in a step further down in the video. So for the bottom band, for the outside of the bag, we need 2 pieces. And for the top, we need 2 pieces. And for this pattern, you're also going to need a zipper. And I'm using a zipper that is about 8 inches long, but that's okay because I've taken some scrap here and I'm going to cut and make end pieces on this zipper to make it a little longer. And you'll also need some fusible interfacing. I'm going to be using the interfacing number 809 Decor Bond. You can get that really cheap at any Walmart or Hobby Lobby. I also need a coordinating fabric to go in the lining. I'm just going to be using some of this that I'm going to use for the bottom piece, and I'll show you that in a later step as well. So, first step to putting this bag together is to put these pieces together, and you're going to do right sides facing together, and we're going to take it over to the machine and stitch along this bottom edge. And I'm not going to do that on camera, so I'm going to do that with both pieces or all 4 pieces, and again that's right sides facing together. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back to show you the next step. You can see I've got these pieces sewn together. Now the next thing I want to do is lay these out with the right side facing down, and I want to open up these seams and press them down. And I always like to make sure I press on the top too, just in case there's a little kink or something in it. Now at this point, if you want to, you can do a top stitch just right along the edge of this top piece, just to neaten it up a little bit. I don't think I'm going to do that step here. I'm going to leave that out. So the next thing we need to do, 2 pieces of interfacing, and you can see I've got them. This is the shiny side. They're sandwiched together, and I've got the smooth side like this. And what I want to do is I just cut a piece of interfacing so I wouldn't have to fiddle with that big giant piece of interfacing. So I'm going to lay a piece of this down on it, of the pieces that I sewed for the outer part of the bag, and I want to pin them to it. And then I just want to cut it out right along those edges so that we can fuse this interfacing onto here. So there you see we've got 2 pieces of interfacing. Now what we want to do is, with the shiny side facing the wrong side of the fabric, we want to lay this on top of it, and we want to press it onto there really good, get it to stick. So now we have these 2 pieces with the interfacing sewn on. The next thing we need to do is create our lining pieces. We've got this is a folded fabric, so there will be 2 pieces after I cut this out around this. And you just lay it on the fabric, and you probably can't see it too well down here because it's the same fabric. But anyway, we're going to cut all around this piece. Okay, so now you see we have 2, I can never do this quick enough, 2 lining pieces for the inside of the bag. Now, since this is a cosmetic bag, I think it really needs to have interfacing on the inside and the outside fabric. So what I'm going to do is, off camera, I'm going to do the same thing with the interfacing. I'm going to trace over this, cut it out, and iron it onto these lining pieces. You see I've got all 4 pieces with interfacing pressed onto them. Now what we want to do is make our gussets, and if you don't have one of these rulers, you don't necessarily have to get the size I actually have a couple of sizes, but this square one seems to be my favorite one to use when I'm making bags and stuff. But you just need it where it's marked off and you can see through it, so that you can make the little squares or the gussets. And you're going to do a gusset on each end on each piece. So I like to use a pencil, and I am using the right side of the fabric just because the interfacing can be a little off. And I'm only going to do 1 inch, and I'm going to do the gussets the way I showed in a video a while back because they come out so much neater. But I will show that step in this video so that you don't have to go back and watch the other video. I'm laying it right on the edge, and I'm doing 1 inch. You want to make sure your fabric doesn't shift. And it doesn't matter that that's showing right now, because when I'm done, it will not, the pencil marks won't be there. Just make sure you're marking on the fabric and not on the interfacing that might be overlapping out here, because that could cause it to be off a little bit. So when you do each gusset, you mark it and then you want to cut it out. And what I'm going to do is just cut over the pencil mark so that it's in the piece that I'm going to throw out. I'm going to do this with each piece, and I'll do a little speed up, but I'll do it on camera so you guys can see what I'm doing. So there you have it. All 4 pieces have their little squares cut out. And now we're going to, since we've got the lining and the outside of the bag prepared, we're going to set those aside, and we're going to get the zipper ready. Now, you can do this however you want. You can use a zipper that fits perfectly across there. And even if it does, I don't know why, but I've just found that putting fabric on the end of the zippers makes them look so much neater when you have your finished product. So I've just got a scrap piece here. And what I want to do is cut a piece. This is super long. You don't need it this long, but you need it about the width of the zipper. And then you're going to take it and see, I'm all backwards. I'll take it over to the machine and I'll show you what to do. So there's not really a lot to the machine settings here. You just I have mine set on medium speed, 2.5 stitch length, and lightweight fabric. So I want to be careful not to sew over this thing, and don't try to remove it. You might ruin your zipper. Just try to get behind it here, and you want the fabric facing the opposite way from the way you're going to turn it. So, and it would be right side of the fabric facing the outside of the zipper. And I'm going to turn it this way because I need it this way. And I'm avoiding this little metal piece here. It's right in there, but I'm just going to lay my foot down to where it's just outside of this little metal piece. And I'm going to sew all the way across. I just want to do a little tiny back stitch just to hold it in place. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing where the zipper pull is. And for this one you can pull it down a little bit. And you see you still got some little metal pieces there. You want to avoid those. And again, right side of the fabric facing the right outside of the zipper with the next step. And I got to turn the wrong way again. Okay. I'm getting there, y'all. So I've got little metal pieces on the zipper right here too, so I'm trying to avoid those. Now you can see we've got these pieces sewn onto the zipper, and like I said, that's way more fabric than you need, but that's okay. So now what I want to do is just fold them over and press them down. And you can do a top stitch if it makes you feel better. I don't really ever do that, to be honest. So, and this overlap in here is not going to matter. All that's going to disappear when you attach the zipper. And I am not going to cut, well, yeah, maybe I am. I'm going to cut a little bit of this off because I know it's way too long, just so it's not in my way. So see, you, that's going to get cut down even more once you start attaching everything. Now that we've got our zipper ready and we've got all of our pieces ready, we want to start attaching the zipper to the pieces. What we want to do is get our zipper foot out, and we want to attach it to our machine, obviously. For the outside pieces of the bag, you want them to be on the outside of the zipper. So what we're going to do is line up our pieces, and I don't really attach the zipper to pin it because I find the pins get in my way. I don't know about the rest of you guys and gals, but the pins just irritate me. I'm going to go ahead and trim up this piece right here because it's harder to line it up with that overlapping. And you always want the zipper pull to be away from where you're sewing. It can get in the way and it'll cause it to be uneven. So I like to do it on the zipper side for the first piece. And I'm just going to start sewing. Now I have my machine on medium speed, 2.5 stitch length, lightweight fabric, and I'm good to go. Once you get close to where you're starting to reach that zipper pull, you want to just push your needle down in there so the fabric doesn't move. And go ahead and just zip it up so that pull is out of the way once you get down here to this part. Now what I'm going to do is take the lining piece and lay it over this, making sure that I'm lining up the pieces. You can see everything's lined up. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to sew right over that first stitch so that I've got everything lined up nice and neat. Now we want to flip these so that we've got the zipper exposed, and we can start the other side. And we'll take this piece, make sure it's lined up with the first piece. I can see that everything is kind of lined up nice and neat. Now, same deal with this back piece, and it should be right sides of the lining piece together. I said back, I meant lining. Now you see we've got all of our pieces attached to the zipper. So we can, you can kind of lay this out. Yeah, see, I made that a little bit crooked there, but that's okay. And you can cut the extra off of this zipper piece. And if you want to lay it out flat, so now we just want to press. Make sure not to press over your zipper with these plastic teeth. You can really ruin your zipper, so you have to be careful to avoid those little teeth. Okay, now we need to attach our front pieces and our outside pieces and our lining pieces. And you see I went in and put a little finger strap in here since it is a cosmetic bag. If you wanted to add a wrist strap or a D-ring or something like that, you could do that. I'm not going into all that detail in this video. Okay, so we're gonna, with the right sides facing together for the outside lining and the inside lining. Yeah. For this, I do suggest pinning, because pinning is going to help you keep everything in line while you're trying to sew it together. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start lining everything up. I'm going to pin it. And what I'm going to do is sew all the way down each side, skipping over these gussets, and sew along the bottom. At this part, I'm going to leave a little opening for turning. I'm going to show you the process of creating one gusset, maybe two. Okay. So here's a little trick, y'all. We're going to make these gussets neat. And that's why I make them slightly smaller than I actually want them to be, because this process makes them so much neater. The thing I'm going to do is open up this gusset, or this little square that we created here, and then we want to line up the seams, the middle of each seam, and we want to flatten it out. And you kind of have to roll that with your thumb and your forefinger to get it in place, but you want to be very sure that it's flat, no kinks, no, you know, nothing bunched up in there. And then just kind of press it with your fingers once you've got it in the right place. And then we want to pin our seams down. And then what I'm going to do is lay it out and be sure that it's all flat. This works for me. Like I said, if it works a different way for you, do it a different way. But I just see the cut is never right. I don't know if you can see that here, but there's just a slight, there's like a little difference. And I find when I sew it like that, it messes it up. It makes a difference. So I'm just going to right along the edge. I'm going to take my ruler and draw with the pencil. And I'm going to cut that off. I'm just going to completely eliminate that crooked part, hopefully, and do one final look and make sure it's okay. Now what I'm going to do is use the edge of my presser foot over there on the machine to go right along the edge of this and sew all the way across, making sure to back stitch on each end. And I'm going to do that with all four corners. I just wanted to come in and show you the gussets before I go turning it. You see I've got each one of them done. And I really do find that they just come out so much neater that way. And you can line them up by the stitch, and you can see that they're lined up pretty well. They're pretty even. So now we got to try to get this lining turned, get everything turned, and then iron the bag out a little bit, and we will be done. All we have to do is close that hole. So let's just start the turning, and I find the best way to begin is to push one of the outside corners out through that hole, and then it kind of just makes it a little easier. It's really hard with a small bag like this anyway, but if you take your time, it won't be too bad of a mess. Now see, our last steps would be to close up that opening that you made for turning. And then you want to kind of get your hands in there and poke everything out. So there you have it. You can see we've got our little cosmetic bag. If you wanted the shape to be a little wider, you know, I don't know, this looks a little long, you could shorten up this top piece definitely by about 1.5 inches, and it would, you know, probably look a little bit better. And you could make it wider if you wanted a bigger bag, but I like this. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Like I said, the only steps I have left is to close up that hole in there that I made for turning. So that is it. That's my little cosmetic bag tutorial. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed. And be sure to leave a comment below for any suggestions for future videos that you have, and I'll be glad to try them. That's it, y'all. Peace. Bye-bye.